Yo! Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. In this video, we'll once again explain and narrate the spoilers for Gachiakuta episode 4. So without wasting any more time, let's jump straight into the main discussion. To put it simply, after Rudo arrived at the janitor headquarters together with his new companions, Enjin, Zanka, and Rio, they were immediately greeted by quite an interesting scene. At this moment, we see them arriving at the headquarters, and they soon encounter someone inside the facility. Right as they meet this person, 3 flies suddenly appear, buzzing right in front of Rudo's face. With remarkable ease, this person swiftly catches all 3 flies using chopsticks. She then looks at Rudo and says, "Nice to meet you, rookie. Enjin has already told me about you and where you come from, but I want to see your potential for myself." Her words leave Rudo confused as he wonders, potential? Could she be talking about what I used before? At that moment, we hear Enjin's voice explaining, "It's all about her glasses. Her kinetic vision is enhanced. When she uses her full ability, she can even see through the natural traits of others." However, to her surprise, when the woman focuses her vision on Rudo, everything suddenly turns blurry. She can't see anything from his body. This shocks everyone in the room. Then she comments, "His physical abilities are already exceptional from the start, so there's no need for further training on that. But his synchronization with his Jinki is fascinating, though still unstable. He needs to train to master his natural abilities. Also, you've got some dirt on your neck." Rudo is left completely stunned by her words. Meanwhile, Enjin, realizing it must be left over from their previous fight, bursts out laughing. A short while later, Enjin excuses himself, saying they have to meet their boss soon. On their way, Enjin explains to Rudo, there are about 100 janitors. Some are fighters, others are guards, and some serve as support. They are stationed at different posts depending on the region they're assigned to clean. That's why it's quite rare for them to all gather at the headquarters like this. So, what do you think? Would you like to meet them? Rudo is left speechless, unsure how to respond. Eventually, they arrive at the main hall, where many janitors are gathered, seemingly engaged in conversation. As Rudo walks in with Enjin, all eyes are on him, curious about the newcomer that Enjin has brought along. They continue walking until they reach the boss's room. There, Enjin says to Rudo, "Alright, I'll ask you directly. What is it that you're hoping to gain? You were planning to ask my boss about how to reach the top, weren't you?" "But I already told you," Enjin continues, "that this is not information you can obtain so easily. It won't be handed to you on a silver platter. Instead, you'll have to tell me directly if you are willing to work here of your own free will. I've also told myself that if I needed you to do something, I'd make sure to get you involved. So don't ask our boss about Jinki, no matter the reason. We don't even know whether our boss has a Jinki or what kind of power it is. Regardless, we respect the boss. Never question them about it, because true strength comes from loyalty. That's what we believe. Please respect that," Enjin says to Rudo, making him nod in understanding. Soon after, they are surprised to find the boss's room completely empty. Suddenly, the same woman's voice calls out, Enjin, I forgot to tell you. The boss is currently away on business out of town and won't be back for a while." Hearing this, both Enjin and Rudo panic. Their whole purpose of coming here was to meet the boss, and now they wouldn't be able to see them anytime soon. Then Rio approaches Rudo with a cheerful grin, saying, Hey, so you've been observing our cleaning work, huh? Anyway, you can't officially become a janitor without meeting the boss. So for now, why don't you become a trainee alongside us? Besides, I'd love to learn more about you, Rudo. What do you think?" Her playful teasing leaves Rudo feeling more embarrassed than ever. After receiving their very first mission as apprentice janitors, Rudo, Rio, and the other support members immediately set off to their assigned location. Their objective was simple: eliminate the rampaging aberrant monsters. As they prepared, Rio turned to Rudo with a sweet smile and said, "Observe how we janitors work together, Rudo. Understand?" Her gentle expression made Rudo feel even more flustered. Soon after, a flashback revealed an earlier conversation where the woman explained, "Let me brief you on the request details. It's a settlement near a contaminated zone, Small aberrant beasts are approaching the barricades, and janitors are needed to clear them out. You all must be cautious. She also taught Rudo some basic terms. In this world, areas where humans can safely live are called safe zones. Contaminated zones are areas poisoned by corruption, dangerous lands where even Rudo had previously fallen. Beyond that lies the forbidden contaminated zone, an utterly lethal area identified by the organization. Ordinary people would die just by stepping inside. Even givers couldn't handle the aberrants that lurked there. Anyway, when entering contaminated zones, wear your mask at all times. The toxins can cause severe illness if inhaled. And if you don't wear your mask in the forbidden zone, you'll be dead in 15 minutes. Hearing this, Rudo thought to himself, how long did I breathe in that place back then? The contaminated zone was littered with trash. I thought I was in paradise, but it was just a dump. Do those above even care, or have they always known and simply dumped their trash here? Still, if you adapt to these zones, doesn't that make it a treasure trove? Rudo grinned at the thought of all the valuable scraps possibly hidden in the area. Later, Rudo asked, Rio, who are these people? Rio replied, they're janitors too, from Supporters Division. They don't have combat abilities like givers, but they're crucial to our work. The supporter shook hands with Rudo, gripping so tightly it hurt. Rudo quickly learned they were strong enough to crush aberrant armor with their bare hands. As they proceeded to scout the area, strange movements appeared from the shadows, revealing a horde of aberrant beasts. Shocked, Rudo exclaimed, there's too many! Can we really handle this? Rio replied calmly, I've never heard of aberrants gathering in such large numbers, but they seem uncoordinated and weak, charging headfirst without tactics. They're perfect practice targets for you, Rudo. Consider yourself lucky. You'll get to show what you're capable of. Soon after, the horde attacked, causing Rudo to panic. They don't seem tame at all. Rio simply smiled and said, worse things are coming after this. These are just slightly stronger than the small fry. Good enough for beginners like you to practice on. Stay calm, Rudo. She encouraged him gently. Hearing this, Rudo thought, of course. Engine always stays calm. I have to do the same and learn from them too. But then, chaos erupted. A beast struck close to Rudo and panic overwhelmed him. How can I stay calm in this situation? He thought. Worse, his mask had slipped off without him realizing it. Rio, observing everything, remarked, now this is exciting. These aberrants aren't for studying, they're genuine threats, and I love it. At that moment, Rio revealed her combat style, wielding a massive pair of scissors known as Jinki. Rudo, still in shock, wondered, is it really fine to stay calm in a situation like this? Spiritual energy began flowing from Rio's scissors, radiating violently. With a grin, Rio said, before taking on the big ones, let's clear out the small ones first. Her scissors grew into a giant blade, and she launched herself at the horde. In an instant, the beasts were shredded apart before Rio, who spun the massive scissors effortlessly, even using her left leg to twirl them around like a toy. Rudo watched in awe, overwhelmed by the sheer brutality. What just happened? Did she just swing her scissors around and wipe out a group of monsters? A supporter next to Rudo explained, Rio's Jinki is the Ripper Scissors. Most people use them with their hands, but Rio uses her legs as weapons. Everyone has their own way of using Zinki tools. Then he warned, by the way, Rudo, don't just stand there, you're here to fight too. At that moment, an aberrant monster lunged at Rudo from behind, but the supporter instantly pulverized it with a single punch, saving him. Rudo stood stunned, mask still off, oblivious to the danger. But the beast wasn't dead yet. It rose again, aiming straight for Rio. Without hesitation, Rio sliced it apart mid-air. She called out, feel free to send me more monsters. I'll deal with them while fighting this big one. The supporters nodded and quickly began coordinating, tossing aberrants towards Rio, who continued battling a massive monster. Watching this, Rudo realized, if I stay like this, I'll never achieve anything. Elsewhere, Rio faced a high-level aberrant. One supporter whispered, we can't rely on Rio forever, and began drawing the smaller ones away. Suddenly, another aberrant appeared behind them. Panic spread among the supporters. They couldn't offer backup in time. At the last moment, Rudo leapt in, blocking the monster's strike, shocking everyone. I joined the janitors to gather intel. I won't be a burden. I'll do my part and prove myself, he declared. Rudo activated his Zinki, a strange net of sharp threads that startled the aberrant. Even though he had no idea how to control it, Rudo instinctively fought back. However, before Rudo could strike, Rio appeared, finishing the monster in one blow. She smiled. Nice work, Rudo. The supporter Rudo had just saved also thanked him. Thank you, Rio, Rudo. Sorry for being careless, but did you manage to beat the big one? Rio replied, I only cut it in half. But it's useless. No matter how much you slice it, that one won't go down. This aberrant monster wasn't affected by Rio's Jinki at all, even though Rio had previously landed several attacks and injured it. Strangely, the wounds regenerated instantly. A few moments later, Rio addressed everyone around her. The vital points of aberrant beasts are similar to those of living creatures. If you can cut them in half with your Jinki, they should die. But this one seems different, Rio muttered. Well, it doesn't matter. It's still an aberrant, so I'll just keep cutting it until it stops moving, she said with a twisted grin. Hearing Rio's words left Rudo unsure how to react, while the support members quickly decided to report this encounter as a newly discovered aberrant variant to their superiors. Rio agreed and told them to leave and report back immediately. Rudo, however, didn't seem eager to leave. Before he could say anything, Rio suddenly dashed toward the massive aberrant beast, attacking with her scissors. First, let's chop it up into pieces, she said, slashing at its hair. This is what our honored client requested. The beast howled in rage, furious that Rio dared humiliate it like that. Yet Rio only seemed amused. Oh, is this not what you expected? Is that why you're screaming? She taunted, severing chunks of the monster's hair. One by one, the monster's strands fell until it was completely bald. Mocking it further, Rio teased, Dear customer, what a shame. Something shiny is glinting on your head. I wonder what it is, she said, launching another attack. The next strike caused a massive shockwave, shaking the entire area. Everyone nearby was thrown off balance by the sheer force, including Rudo, who slipped and tumbled toward the cliff's edge. As he struggled to hold on, Rudo thought, I'm only slowing them down. I can't even use my Jinki properly. What am I supposed to do? Even if I can summon something, I don't even know what it's for, he muttered as he slipped further. Just before he fell, a hand grabbed his arm. It was the supporter Rudo had saved earlier. Without hesitation, the supporter pulled Rudo up and carried him away from danger. If there's something you want to do, something you must do before it's too late, then run, the supporter told Rudo. Watch us and run alongside us. Behind them, Rio continued mercilessly slaughtering the aberrant. There was no hesitation in her attacks, no sympathy, only overwhelming brutality. Suddenly, the monster launched a counterattack. Rio quickly evaded and retaliated with a fierce strike, leaving everyone wondering if she had finally finished it off. Moments later, they all rushed toward Rio and asked, Are you alright, Rio? Did you really take it down? But what they saw next left them in shock. Lying where the monster had fallen was not just a corpse, but a Jinki shaped like a dagger. Everyone stood in disbelief. How could a Jinki take the form of a monster like that, they wondered. In short, after the battle with the aberrant monster ended, and after Rudo completed his very first mission, the group made their way back, returning straight to the janitor headquarters. At this moment, the scene shifts to Zanka, who had just woken up from his sleep, still drowsy and trying to make sense of what had happened while he was resting. As he rubbed his eyes and looked around, he noticed that people were gathered together, chatting among themselves. Among them was Rio, sitting comfortably while eating. Puzzled, Zanka approached and asked, What's going on at a time like this? Isn't it still nighttime? Rio looked up from her meal and replied casually, This is a welcome party for Rudo, a celebration for his arrival to the underworld. Zanka looked around again, realizing everyone seemed happy, smiling, and in good spirits, celebrating Rudo's first successful mission. Yet, when he glanced toward a corner of the room, he noticed Rudo sitting alone, his expression heavy with thought. His posture was slouched, his face full of doubt and frustration, as though a storm was swirling inside his head. Zanka furrowed his brow. Everyone's smiling, but why does he look so down? He wondered aloud. Hearing his comment, Rio responded while chewing on her food. Looks like he's still upset because he couldn't properly control his Jinky during the mission yesterday. He's really beating himself up over it. Rio then sighed. Honestly, I don't get why he's taking it so hard. Yesterday's monster wasn't like any regular aberrant we fought before. It had something different inside it. A core, but not just any core. Inside that beast was a Jinky. That changes everything. She leaned back and continued. You know, when a beast is born from a Jinky's power, it's natural to feel uneasy. That's why I'm leaving this whole situation for the higher-ups to deal with. I don't know what's going on with it, and frankly, I don't care. I'm just here to fight, finish the mission, and enjoy my meals. As Rio went back to eating, the perspective shifted back to Rudo. He sat silently in a dark corner of the room, his head lowered, staring intently at the pair of Jinky gloves resting in his hands. His grip was tight, his jaw clenched, his whole body radiated frustration. Suddenly, someone sat down across from him. It was a man Rudo hadn't properly met before. The man smiled softly and said, I haven't introduced myself yet. My name is Gris. Gris smiled kindly and continued, I just wanted to say, you did something incredible yesterday. Rudo's eyes widened slightly in surprise, but he quickly shook his head and muttered, No, I didn't do anything. I was useless out there. But Gris remained calm and firm. That's not true. You protected Folo from those rampaging aberrant beasts yesterday. Thanks to you, he and the others made it back alive. That's more than enough. Rudo's grip on his gloves tightened even further as a scowl appeared on his face. His emotions surged and he finally burst out. But in the end, I couldn't use my power. It was Rio. It was all of you who saved me. Not me. Ever since that day, I've just been angry, lashing out at people. Recto, he was always the one who cleaned up after me, always fixing my screw-ups. His breathing grew heavier as he continued. Why is it always like this? Why am I always useless? Gris listened patiently, nodding softly. And when Rudo paused to catch his breath, Gris spoke in a quiet yet firm tone. Thank you. You know, you're the first person who's ever seen us supporters as equals. Do you have any idea what it's like, Rudo? What people usually think of us? Most see us as weaklings, burdens, people who only get in the way of real janitors. Gris's expression turned serious. Even some of the janitors think like that. I'm sure some of them looked down on us at first. But you're different, Rudo. Gris then spoke of Folo. Folo, even though he's just a supporter here, he joined the janitors because he wanted to eliminate aberrant beasts, just like you. But someone without real power, without a giver's strength, can never defeat those monsters. That's why Folo could only be a supporter. Gris's gaze sharpened as he recalled Folo's determination. But Folo said something important. I'll keep supporting even if I can't be a giver. I'll prove to everyone who's ever looked down on me that I'm capable, that I matter. Gris leaned forward and looked straight into Rudo's eyes. That's why, Rudo, you need to stop focusing on trying to meet everyone else's expectations. Forget about being strong enough for others. Ask yourself, what do you truly want to do? Rudo froze, caught off guard by the question. His mind raced, but no answer came. He didn't know. He realized he had never really thought about it before. Gris smiled gently and continued. Start there. Find your answer. Go back to the very beginning. Back to your starting point. Think, what is it you can do? What steps can you take to make your dream happen? Then Gris added firmly, believe in yourself, Rudo. You're still standing. Even after falling into the underworld, you survived. That alone means you have a reason to be here. Something only you can achieve. Just as Rudo began to process Gris's words, the mood was suddenly interrupted. A hand clapped down on Rudo's shoulder from behind, making him jump in surprise. It was Engine, appearing out of nowhere with his usual carefree grin. Behind him were Zanka and Rio, both approaching with plates full of food. Come on, Rudo, Engine said casually. You haven't eaten since yesterday, right? Let's eat together. Rudo blinked in surprise. He wasn't expecting this, any of it. He had no idea they cared this much about him, that they were watching, that they were waiting for him. For the first time since arriving in the underworld, Rudo realized maybe he wasn't as alone as he thought. So, that's the end of spoiler from Gachiakuta episode 4. Thanks you so much and see you again in the next video. Ciao!